Hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is you are viewing this video. This video will be uploaded by Sunday, May the 19th. I hope you guys have enjoyed your weekend thus far. And yeah, I kind of just want to jump into something that I've been working on and I've been studying for the past 2 weeks. I've had something on my heart, so I definitely want to go ahead and share it with you guys and get it out. So this today I will entitle, I am not a Judas, but my enemies, ... The dots definitely will be in the title description, okay? But I want to start this off with, I read the book of Matthew. This will be from Matthew chapter 26. So I read that chapter. In this book, you get the story of Judas and how he initially set out to betray Jesus. And then also you get the story of Peter and how he denied Jesus 3 times. Now, this story starts off referencing a woman who poured oil on the head of Jesus. Now, Jesus was around his disciples when this had taken place. The woman is not named in the book, so I can't say her name because she's not named there in that chapter. Now, when she poured this oil on the disciples, Jesus was very friendly with her. And when she walked away, the disciples began to talk about her. Like, she's poor, she's, in poverty. Why, would you allow her to do such a thing to you? They, just kind of talked about her and the impoverished lifestyle that she lived. They even said, like, she probably got this oil from the rich who gave it to her for free, because she is in poverty. She's a poor woman. And Jesus saw it as she had done a good deed. He knew that he was on his way to his burial. So he was like, hey, she did this before my burial, which was very kind. You guys sit amongst the poor all the time and you mingle with them all the time, but me, myself, I don't. Y'all know how I love my angels, first of all. So I want to mention Archangel Michael. Now, Michael is actually, in the Bible way before Jesus was even born. If you don't know anything about Michael, I will not go too deep, but I will say that he was born as a prophet in a rural area. Now, if you know anything about geography and the terminology that is used for certain areas, a rural area is even more poor than an urban area. So he was born like in the poorest of the poorest conditions. However, he was born into his power. He was born a prophet. He was born knowing that he was going to be a force to be reckoned with, and a very powerful force. He's a prophet. And I want you, like I said, I won't go too deep into his story, but he is, for your research, he definitely is referenced in the books of Isaiah, Amos, Hosea, and of course Micah itself. He prophesied many things. He was recognized for his prophecy that Jerusalem and Samaria would be destroyed, which you can find that in Micah chapter 5 verse 2. But he is most famously recognized for his prophecy of the birth of Messiah, which is actually found in the book of Matthew chapter 2 verses 1 through 6. Micah was known for rebuking the corruption of the rich who lived the city life in Israel. Again, he knew he was chosen, but he was born into poverty. but his spiritual gifts, what God gave him, the divine plan that he was told that he needed to carry out. He was very obedient to that, right? And God knew that no matter what, no matter who talked about Micah, no matter who slandered him, no matter what conditions he was in, that he was going to be a person who, no matter what, carried out his divine plan. Now let's take it back to the original book of Matthew, chapter 26. Now remember that the disciples didn't like the poor woman and how Jesus took to her. And in verse 15, it explains how Judas went and asked the enemies of Jesus, "What will you give me so that I could bring him to you?" They offered him 30 pieces of silver. And Judas basically said, "It's a deal." So from that day forward, he set out to betray Jesus. Now, later in the text, Jesus mentions to the disciples that one of you will betray me. And they started to ask, "Is it I?" Judas was even one who asked, "Is it I?" But he had already went to start his betrayal with Jesus. And he had the nerve to ask, like, "Oh, is it I?" Like he didn't know that he was already on the brink. That's that smiling in your face, want to take your place, backstabbing energy, right? But I'm going to lie about it to your face. I'm not going to tell you that I'm betraying you. I'm not going to act as if I'm betraying you. I'm going to act like I'm your friend. I'm going to act like I'm your family member. I'm going to act like I'm your significant other. I'm going to act like I'm on your side. And I'm outside. So the crazy thing is, when you start to hear the loud noises, you can listen to certain people and they will be like, "Ooh, that's confirmation." So just walk with me. Just stay with me on this, right? Now, I want to talk about an experience I had with my ex and his mother. Now, you can go back a couple of videos and kind of watch my testimony and my story. But I thought it was quite strange to me that, initially when I first started to date him, I lived in Dublin, and his mom, I thought it was weird that she would spend the night at my house. She's a woman who had her own home, a single woman in her 50s with her own home. I didn't understand why she wanted to spend the night at my house on my couch. But then there were things that started to transpire in my life, and it wasn't later on till I started to put things together. But I realized that they are into technology way more deep than I even knew. And that was her reasoning for being at my home, to hack my devices, to tap into my technology. I wasn't aware of that, but random things started to happen. I was already had been in and out of court with my daughter's father for over 10 years about the custody of her. He's a person who's in the military. They have several resources, and the fact that I kept getting these judges who either they were military or their husbands were military, it was working against me. Because if you know anything about, occults or secret societies, or even being a part of an elite group or society, they are going to stick together. Even if people are in the wrong, they're going to do everything to cover up their wrongdoing. They're also going to do any and everything to get what it is that they want. So random things started happening. I started to get like these crazy emails that were supposedly from my daughter. And they were just very, nasty. And I couldn't believe that she was speaking to me in this manner. And I'm talking to her in the email, like, I hope you heal, and what are you talking about? And she's telling me all these things like, yeah. Now, mind you, my ex's mom has a TV network. Now, I have an associate's degree in multimedia broadcasting and television. So here I am thinking that, I've got into a good family and it should be a good match. We could do business together, but also like have great like family life together. No, this is not what this was. I was being wronged in so many ways, right? So the first notice was the emails. I asked my daughter about these emails and she's like, I don't know what you talk about. I have no knowledge. I came, obviously me being in a relationship, I'm telling my ex about this, like, oh my God, listen to this. This is what's happening. Excuse the noise, I'm outside. And, him and his mom is like, oh my God, I'm like, my daughter said she didn't do this. She said she didn't write these emails. They're like, well, who would do that to you? Who knows your business? Who knows anything about you? Being just like a Judas, right? Standing in my face like, oh, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening, right? Moving forward, there had also been a situation to where me, trying to partner and work with this woman who had this TV station, there was something that came about and she needed to like pay something, or one of her clients was trying to pay her, but she had no way to receive the payment. Now, I had a PayPal account that I had never used before. So I was just, me thinking that this is family now. We're a unit. So, family sticks together. We work together. So I'm like, well, hey, I have this PayPal account that I've never actually used before. You could just have the money transferred onto this card, right? So I give her the card. I give her access to it. To later find out, PayPal is telling me like there's fraudulent activity going on in my account. I can't even, have a PayPal or receive transactions now because of that. I've never even used their service, although I had an account with them, and this woman is the only person that I gave access to this account. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, right? Okay. Also with the hacking, it was things like, him and I would be out of town, and his ex, the mother of his last 3 children, she would be like tracking us out of town and things like that. Now, I wasn't aware. This is what he told me, like, oh yeah, she tracks, that's what she does, she hacks into devices and blah blah blah. They even had accused her of being the person who was sending these malicious emails, trying to pretend as if she was my daughter as well. But then let's move forward a little bit. He had ended up going to jail, and while he was in jail, it was like around the time of COVID. So it was like, people were getting unemployment and PPP and all this stuff, right? Now, I had been denied for PPP, not knowing why. I have a legit EIN, a legit LLC, and all of these things, but I was denied. So many sirens. Now, he has gone to jail supposedly for something that, the kids of his mother has gotten him into some stuff, and she just always talks about him being in jail, going to jail, wanting him underneath the jail and all this jazz. So he's in there and he's calling me and he's like, hey, can you make EINs for, the inmates, and then we're going to set up unemployment in their name, but we're going to collect the money. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So he tried to make me feel bad, like, well, my mom and my ex is doing it, why won't you do it? I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I would not do that. I refused to do that. I didn't want to be a part of that. That is fraud. I want to absolutely no parts. That's not who I am as a person. I don't operate like that. I don't want to commit crimes. I don't want to do people dirty. That's just not who I am. So I was unwilling to cooperate, right? Every time that I asked them about my emails being hacked or my phone devices, it was like a denial every time. They were frustrated with me even asking these questions, right? Like they became upset with me that I was even asking at some point. So I left it alone. Now let's go back to the book of Matthew, chapter 26. They broke bread with Jesus, right? Said, eat of this bread, this is my body. And then he gave them a cup and he told them to drink of it and said that it was a representation of his blood. However, in Matthew 26 verse 29, he states, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. He didn't want to drink with them. He knew that someone would betray him. He knew that Peter would deny him 3 times. He already prophesied it. He already said it to them. He already let them know that he was aware. He was not willing to continue to drink amongst thieves, to drink amongst people who commit crimes, to drink with those who were going to betray him. He was just not willing to do that. Now for me, that's very symbolic of him basically cutting people off. He ain't want no parts. He was only willing to go so far because the things that his Father revealed to him, he knew that he had to let go at this point, right? Now, if I take this back to my personal story with the inmates, the money didn't matter to me. I was not willing to betray or do fraudulent things in other people's names. I was more willing to be like, that's the type of stuff y'all into. I don't want no parts. I'm good. I was not willing. I cut that off. More recently, I cut off every single person who I call friend and family because I didn't know who to trust. I just cut everything off. I cut everybody off because I'm unwilling to drink with the criminals. I'm unwilling to break bread with thieves. I'm unwilling to participate in crimes. That is not who I am. That is not a representation of my lifestyle. So I rather be alone and walk alone than to be among criminals. I'd much rather. If you follow me, if you watch me and you know like my story, you're very familiar with, some of the things that I've been, accused on and lied on about. But this is what they did to Jesus. They lied on him. They accused him of things that he did not do, right? To cover up their own crimes, to cover up their own betrayals, to make themselves look good, to sit with elites and masons and be in secret societies. Because this is what people do for monetary gain. They are willing to sacrifice other people and their good reputations so that they are able to commit crimes. Oh, and people are highly offended when I cut them off. But when Jesus started to cut people off, they were highly offended as well. You can read it for yourself. Matthew chapter 26. History repeats itself. There are 75 verses in Matthew 26, and it was shocking to me how out of 75 verses, I could literally recall the last 4 to 5 years of my life within that one book, within that one chapter. Because history repeats itself. It talks about how they took Jesus' clothes. My mom and my sister took my clothes. It talks about how they spit in Jesus' face. My ex's baby mom spit in my face. History repeats itself. You know, the older people always say there's nothing new underneath the sun, right? And it's crazy to me how some of these people claim to be so religious. But I'm now seeing for myself firsthand how people take religion and stories out of the Bible and replay them into modern day. And they try to make it make sense. Just like how they try to make it make sense back then. Right? Now, Peter told Jesus that he was one of the ones who would not be offended by him. And Jesus told Peter, oh, you're going to deny me 3 times before the cock crew. Peter's like, I will not, right? But let me tell you something about Jesus. He was a prophet, the Son of God, sent here as a healer, sent here to show unconditional love, sent here to be a messenger, to carry out God's divine plan, to warn people, to make them see themselves. People didn't like that. They didn't like that. They refused to believe it. They didn't like that. That's why they don't like me. Because no matter what, I'm still going to walk with him. Even when people betray him, he still loved them unconditionally. And what I really want to know is, how many are willing to fill the shoes of Jesus, right? How many can truly sit in that seat? How many can take their clothes being stolen? How many can take being lied on? How many can take, being spit in the face, literally? How many can take that? Are you willing to fill those shoes, right? The Bible never said that Jesus was perfect, but what it did say that he was righteous. And that he was not willing to deny his Father. I won't deny my gift of prophecy. I won't conform to crimes and be a criminal to fit in. But I do feel that we have all played the role of Peter at some point in our lives, willingly or unwillingly. I feel that if you read Matthew 26, you'll come to realize that on the 3rd time Peter actually denied Jesus, the cock crew went off then. And he realized, oh my God. He remembered what Jesus said to him. So he went off and wept. I don't think in his denials that he was remembering the prophecy that was already said to him. But when he realized it, he realized, hey, what have I done? Right? I feel like so many people are scared to walk alone. So they rather become a Judas. They rather take the money over what's right. They rather fit into societal norms than do what's right. They rather throw the rock and hide their hand than to do what's right. But I said all that to say that when your wrongdoings hit you and the reality sets in that you have betrayed a prophet of God, that you have been a Judas and really sold out one of God's children, when it really sinks in and settles for you, how are you really going to feel? What price will you pay in the end for what you have done? See, for me, it's too expensive for me not to obey him. It's too expensive for me to deny my gift of prophecy. It's too expensive for me to not acknowledge who he is in my life, what he has done for me, what he has given. It's too expensive. Let's take the late great Tina Turner, for example. She played the role of Peter in her life as well. She kept denying that Ike was an abuser. She kept denying that he was a monster. So she was subjected to abuse and demoralization and control and all of these different things until she realized that nothing is going to come of this for me but death. So she started to practice Buddhism and start chanting and getting closer to God with, and her spirit guides. She took her power back and she was able to stand on her own too and fight. But God showed her that she was not alone, right? She was able to do it. But she had to stop denying the truth, denying what was right in front of her. She had to make a choice. You gonna die under the control of somebody else? Or you gonna walk into the light with me? Well, I will make sure that the latter of your days will be full of joy and happiness and riches. See, if you let go and you let God, your enemies truly become your footstool. And then the betrayal of what they done to you becomes your testimony of how you've actually overcome. And ooh, it's gonna make them so mad. It's gonna make them so mad. But they didn't care when they was betraying you. So you should not care that you have overcome. You should not care that your truth includes other people who have done you wrong, because that is your testimony. You should not care. You have to be willing to walk alone. You have to be willing to fill the shoes of Jesus. You have to. Otherwise, you're just like everybody else. You're a conformist. You're a criminal. You just want to fit in. When really none of that matters when it's all said and done with. Your enemies were Judases in your life. When all you wanted to do was be more like Jesus and carry out your Father's work. But they didn't want that for you. They didn't like that. They didn't like that in you. They don't like that in me. I don't care. I don't care. If you recall the movie from the 80s, Child's Play, about the good guy doll that we all know is Chucky. That man, Charles Lee Ray, he wanted to transfer his soul into that poor innocent child so that he could basically and ultimately do the work of the devil. But it ain't turned out how he thought. He ended up being an adult. The other day when God was speaking to me, and I'm like, Child's Play, why do you want me to reference this movie Child's Play? And that night I ended up having a dream. In that dream, it was an animated dream. I've never had an animated dream before. So that was the first thing that was very significant to me. And I think that he made it animated for me because he didn't want to scare me. But it was like I was watching something take place in a forest, in a field, surrounded by trees and dirt. And there were 4 to 5 bodies laying in a row. Now, you've seen the movie The Craft, you know, they're like light as a feather, stiff as a board, and then like the girls are coming off the ground. So imagine an animation, 4 to 5 people laying in a row, and they were dressed as if they were like back in biblical days. So looked like, you know, they had on like the smocks or whatever you want to call them, as if they were disciples. But I couldn't see if they were male or female or whatever. It just was these bodies laying down, and they were lifted off the ground, but they were shaking. The ground was shaking. Everything was shaking. It was like shaking up. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, what is that? But as I'm watching this in my dream state, and I woke up and I began to pray. So I woke up and I began to pray. And I'm asking God, like, what does this mean? And he broke it down to me very clearly. You know, people go to graveyards and they summon and the spirits, right, of ancestors. You know, they, you know, pour out liquor and beer and wine and all these things, right? And they do things like chants and perform rituals and stuff like that in the graveyard with graveyard dirt and beverages. So what he was showing me is what was happening. Now, let me tell you 2 things about a true prophet. God's going to show you something before it happens or while it's happening. So he was letting me know that, oh baby, your ancestors have been summoned. But it's not going to go down how your enemies think it's going to go down. And I know that some of the people who are doing this are going to watch this video, and they're going to be so shocked. And it's going to be further confirmation for them. She the truth. I will not deny God. I will not deny my gifts. And they can't deny them either. Because I'm pretty sure they are asking themselves, how does she know this stuff? She's not around us. She does not talk to any of us. If y'all thought God stopped making prophets and showing people things, y'all are sadly mistaken. And just because we don't come dressed in the packages, or we don't walk or talk the way that whoever thinks we should, that doesn't mean that it's not factual. That doesn't mean that it's not true. It means that you're so full of yourself that you're unwilling to see what God has truly put into your life, what he's truly put in front of you. But see, when you come for his, it's a sad day. It is a sad day. And I'm here to tell you that God is like the Fed. He gonna let you keep going and going and going until you rack up so much karma. Oh yeah. Also in Matthew 26, it states, all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. So when you're summoning spirits to come and haunt somebody else, it's funny how they start haunting you. I don't think I can say that on YouTube. When you decide to unalive people and you use weapons, don't be surprised when your life ends with the same weaponry that you use against another. I do affirmations every morning. And this is one of my affirmations. This one says, I choose to be happy and love myself today. This is actually the first box of affirmation cards that I actually purchased 2 years ago. But they have these nice spaces that you can write on the back of it. And on the back of this, 2 years ago, I wrote, I am capable of loving myself unconditionally and patting myself on the back for accomplishments. Picking myself up when I fail or make mistakes is key. I am human and will make mistakes, but I will love myself through it all and try again, never giving up. Because I said it before, we have all played the role of Peter, whether it is willingly or unwillingly. And I had to realize that it was a mistake letting the wrong people into my life. It was a mistake sticking around and being friends with people who I know were not like me and we were not like-minded. It was a mistake staying in relationships that were abusive, and I was seeing things that were, not right, and I stuck around. These were mistakes. But I had to love myself enough to forgive myself and to leave people, places, and things that did not serve me behind in order to walk in God's divine plan and my purpose, His purpose for my life. Do not be afraid. Don't be a Judas. Because, you might think like, oh, I did that to a person. I didn't do that against God. But you did that against God's child, and then you want to pray to God for things that you want or ask for forgiveness for other things, never acknowledging what you have done, how you have betrayed His prophets, His children, innocent people who didn't deserve it. You are truly a Judas. You have to acknowledge that. So it's not just about you betraying God directly. You are betraying Him too when you do wrong things against other people. That is a betrayal. We're God's prophets, we're His children. How dare you? That's what He says. How dare you? You got to look in the mirror. You got to take your mask off. You got to be willing to do the things that others are not. And no, it did not feel good getting my clothes stolen from me that I spent all this money on. No, it didn't feel good with my face getting spit on. None of that felt good. So y'all know I'm outside. So my phone died earlier, so I had to go home, charge it, and come back, and it's dark now. But anyways, as I was saying, none of those things felt good. My clothes being stolen, my face getting spit in, me being lied on, my accounts being hacked, from my emails to my cell phone device to my bank accounts to things being committed in my name illegally. None of those things felt good at all whatsoever. And I still stood in my power, and I still to this day stand up for my truth. You know what I'm saying? Justice will be served. I know that in God's timing. Because again, God operates like the Fed. He lets you keep racking it up and racking it up until He says enough is enough. And it's the end of the road for you, in whatever way that may be. So I want to leave you with this scripture. It is John 14:27. I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. Understand that no matter who you are around, no matter who you hang out with, no matter where you work, no matter what group or organization or job title or position that your aim and your goal is in this lifetime, understand that the same effort that you put into obtaining those goals and those titles, God puts in even more effort to give you peace of mind. And he shows you in various ways the things that will disturb your peace. So you have to make a choice. Do you want to be in peace? Or do you want to be in chaos? It is your choice to make. And understand that sometimes taking that road of peace, no, you may not be able to be a part of that organization. You may not be able to be a part of that group. You may not be able to obtain that title because of the things that they want you to do, meaning being a Judas, betraying God's plan, his purpose, his people. So that might not really be for you how you thought, but understand that he has something better if you're willing to follow the divine purpose and the plan that he has of your life, because what he has for you is going to be peaceful, it's going to be happy, it's going to be joyous. You will not have to suffer, you will not have to betray other people, you will not have to conform. But you gotta be brave, you gotta be bold, you gotta be willing to do the things that others are not willing to do. I do have a channeled song, and it is Doe, Deepest Part of You. And I want you to understand that he wants to know you. He already knows you. But he wants you to get to know him, so that you have the knowledge and understanding that he knows you inside and out. And when you're willing to get to know him, it allows you the opportunity to know yourself better, to know his plan for you better, to know the purpose that he has for you much better. Don't allow your days to be numbered, but allow your forever to be true eternity. The world can't give you that. So don't let the world stray you away from that. This has been Beautifying from the Inside Out with Lynetta Shay. I am not a Judas, but my enemies, ... You guys be blessed. Until next time.